kickoff to the Saints and you get a 3-and-out, you cannot start the game with 6 3-and-outs or 6 punts, like they did in the first half last week. You're not gonna stand any chance against Drew Brees and his heavy offensive attack. The Browns have the 2 bruising rookie running backs, and in the second half last week, the Browns ran for over 120 yards with Crowell and West. So obviously, with Ben Tate ruled out for this week, I think we're going to see a lot of West and Crowell. And Pettine even mentioned that we might get to see the other kid, Glenn Winston, the guy that the San Francisco 49ers had. These rookies have a violent downhill running style. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I don't know if Winston plays. I know they're talking about, but I think they're planning on going with a steady dose of the 2 backs.
Yeah, Pettine said in his press conference on Thursday that Winston could see some action.
He's gonna be suited up. Yeah.
But again, think about what you're saying with Pettine. It seems like he doesn't really show his cards too much. So, but you're right. It's going to be a heavy dose of West and Crowell. I wouldn't mind seeing what Winston can do, but the workload should be fine for West and Crowell. I'm a big believer. I'm just saying, I'm a big believer that I think nowadays, specialization is a thing in the NFL, and I know you got to be deep at running back, but I'm still a believer that the more you run, the more you can get into a rhythm, the more just like we talk about quarterbacks and taking the reps. To me, I think when you've got 2 effective backs, a 1-2 dose rotating those guys is what gets you in a rhythm. I've never been a big fan, and I guess you have to when you've got lesser talented guys, of going 3 and 4 deep and rotating those carries like that. I mean, I guess some teams can make it effective, but I really like just seeing, easy to throw out Mackenbiner, but I mean, boom, there was a 3rd and 4th back available, but Herman Fontenot was mostly used as a receiver / back, so you had a fullback, but those guys barely played. It was a steady dose of the 2 running backs. I just think you get in more of a rhythm. Plus, those 2 guys can pound. I'm just never been a big fan of going too much deeper than that unless you need to during the game. Obviously, last week they did. And so if a guy gets hurt, like that's how Crowell got in. He wasn't a big part of the game plan last week. He came in. So, Winston will be ready to play. But I'd like to see what just those 2 guys can do rotating in a steady rhythm there. Yeah, me too. West had the 100 yards. Crowell had the 2 touchdowns and the 38 yards or 32 yards or whatever on 5 or 6 carries. But to me, dog bone number 1, J-Rock, it's imperative the Browns get off to a quick start and score early. I mean, if you're going to stay in this game with them, you're not going to win a shootout against Drew Brees, especially with the Browns' weapons that they have, if you want to call them that. So, and there's a chance that Jordan Cameron might not play either. So, I think Cleveland needs to use the Falcons' blueprint that they put out in Week 1, and just take what the defense gives you. The Falcons ran a lot of short stuff, quick hits, and I think that's definitely dog bone number 1. Is you got to get off to a fast start and have a quick pace.
All right, dog bone number 2.
All right, dog bone number 2. I dug back to the 2010 Volt for this one. That was the last meeting between these 2 teams, and I know they're 2 completely different teams, but they were still coached by the Saints were still coached, and they still had Drew Brees. Against the Saints on the road, the Browns used 2 trick plays on special teams. If you guys remember, it was a cross-field lateral from Cribbs over to the wide receiver, I can't remember his name now, Chancey Stuckey, and a fake punt run by Reggie Hodges that swayed the momentum to their side during the course of that game.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, Reggie Hodges, baby. Reggie Hodges.
I'm not going with trick plays here.
I actually interviewed him right after that game, man. I got a chance to catch up with him somewhere. Reggie Hodges, great guy.
Nice. Yes. Very nice guy. I met him a couple times too. So I'm not saying the Browns need to do trick plays. It was the defense that flustered Breeze and the Saints that day. The Browns won 31-17 in the Superdome. The Browns had 3 sacks and they had 4 interceptions. The defense was full of older veterans, and they shut out the Saints for 2 of the 4 quarters, despite giving up almost 400 yards of offense.
Didn't Debo have a couple picks in that one, right? Go ahead. Debo had a couple of picks in that one, didn't he?
Who is that?
Bowens. Debo.
Yeah, David Bowens,
Debo,
number 96.
baby. Yes, that's what I thought. He had the pick 6. 2 of them. Wasn't it 2 in one game?
And Fujita had 1 too. The Browns put up 210 yards of offense that day, and not counting that fake run, J-Rock, the fake punt run, the Cleveland running game produced just 57 yards on 27 carries. So 3 turnovers is my key for his dog bone number 2 is 3 turnovers. Breeze has found a new favorite toy in the rookie receiver Brandon Cooks, which the Browns were really high on. In his first 8 pro snaps last week, on the Saints' first drive of the game, Cooks had 3 receptions for almost 50 yards.
Yeah,
he caught everything thrown to him. I imagine that Breeze is going to look to pick apart the slot corner where Cooks is going to be coming from, and that's going to be Justin Gilbert. So I understand that this isn't the same Browns team, but if history proves anything, Cleveland can win this game with stellar defense. To pull this upset off of an older Breeze with new, younger weapons, the Browns must create at least 3 turnovers in my eyes. It doesn't matter how they come. If they're forced fumbles, interceptions, turnover on downs, Browns must take the football away from the Saints as dog bone number 2 if they have any fighting chance.
All right. What's dog bone number 3, my man?
All right. Last dog bone. Dog bone number 3. Counterattack the defensive heat. You talked about it a little bit earlier. Once a defensive coordinator of Cleveland, Rob Ryan, he's found a nice home with New Orleans. He marries well with Sean Payton. He's solid defense, especially in the secondary. There's a guy that I really liked that I wanted the Browns to target last year, Kenny Vaccaro from Texas.
Yeah.
I think Ryan's going to bring the heat. Ryan is a fired up, passionate guy, and he's a former Cleveland Brown coach, and he might have a pickle with us. So I think he's going to bring the heat against his former team, and Cleveland must be ready for it. How we can neutralize and counter that is by using quick screens, quick hits to our playmakers. Andrew Hawkins, Travis Benjamin, even get Terrence West. I watched Terrence West catch a lot of screens, catch a lot of passes out of the backfield in camp. So I do like his hands. I counted, and how I backed this up is I watched the Atlanta Saints game on DVR. I went back and watched it. I counted 23 missed tackles by the Saints, by the Ryan-led Saints defense last week. New Orleans also gave up 23 plays of 10 or more yards. And how the Falcons pulled that off was they got quick passes, not far downfield, and they let their playmakers do the work. The other thing about this is, do you know who else did this? The Steelers. The Steelers did this to us last week. I went back and watched the game again today. And that first half, the Steelers didn't do anything special. They just simply got the ball out quick. Roethlisberger got the ball out quick, and he let Bell and Antonio Brown and Wheaton do things after the catch.
Yep.
So Matt Ryan and the Falcons did the same thing. I think if you can counterattack the defensive heat that's coming, that you're gonna stay in this game. You're gonna not have a lot of 3 and outs. But if Hoyer stands there in the pocket like he did in that last drive of the game last week and sit there like a statue and hold on to the ball, this is going to be 3 and outs all over. And I think Cleveland's going to be in for a long day in front of and the Browns are going to deflate the fired up home crowd for the opener. So dog bone number 3, once again, is counterattack the defensive heat that's come.
See, I slightly have a different opinion on that because I think that if they load up the box, if they bring the blitzes after Hoyer, which I expect them to do, I think they're not going to do as much as you think, though. I saw a little bit of what Sean Payton was saying here this week, too. And you can say what you want. You can believe or not believe whatever you think about Brian Hoyer. He's a quarterback in progress as far as I'm concerned. But Sean Payton, very complimentary about how you've got to temper your picking and choosing your spots with blitzing because he will find the open receivers. He did it last week when Pittsburgh tried to dial up the pressure in the second half. He found guys running open. I mean, hey, you know what? You can say it's all Pittsburgh all you want. I'm saying, Brian Hoyer is an intelligent quarterback, and if you do bring the heat, he will have guys open. If he can't find them, you're right. It's going to be a long day. But if he can find them, then I think that could work against them. So I believe you use their aggression against them early and then counterbalance that with some runs and some play actions once that happens. That's kind of the way I would script it out offensively for the Browns to do well. I agree with you. They're going to bring the pressure, but I believe that Brian Hoyer can, if he can stand in there and take it, that he will find the spots. He finds the guys when they're open.
Sure, but and I agree with you too. But the Steelers, for example, in the first half of last week, they ran that quick screen to Antonio Brown. They ran a little slip screen to Le'Veon Bell. I didn't see any of that from the Browns. And you can do that. You can do that against this team. They gave up 568 yards, and a lot of it came on quick hitters like that last week against the Falcons. So, is Hoyer going to stand in the pocket if he's got a man downfield open? Absolutely. I think on third down, when you need that big play, I think it could be there just like it was for the Steelers last week.
I just don't know how many open field making things happen guys that the Browns have at that point. You could point out Hawkins, that's great, but and you could say the running backs, but I think you've got a limited pool. I agree with you, but I'm not a big fan of throwing bubble screens to Miles Austin at this point in his career. You know what I mean? So there's some limitation. I do agree with you, but there's some personnel limitations to that too. Obviously, if you can get Gabriel and you can get some of your faster guys, but I understand where you're coming from, but you got to have the right personnel as well. You get the ball to Antonio Brown in space. A couple of times last night, Roethlisberger to me was off, made some bad reads and checked it down, and they went for a couple of those screens, and I was amazed just watching him at how nimble of foot that Antonio Brown is. I know he's very good. I know he's fleet. I know he's big and strong. But he caught one bubble screen there with about 3 Ravens directly in front of him, and he stutter-stepped and got around, and he got himself, an extra 5-6 yards around the corner when he was trapped. And I said, man, that's it. To be big and be that nimble of foot, man, that's a skill set right there. Browns need to get more playmakers like that. But I agree with you on the philosophy. But just because a guy's fast, even Hawkins has got some speed, but you've got to really be able to make something happen. I don't know if they got a lot of open field space move making kind of guys.
No, I've got Hawkins, Gabriel, and believe it or not, Travis Benjamin, he can make a couple people miss. Those would be the 3 that I would target. Yeah. And if you can get West out of the backfield, just like they did to Bell. I haven't seen too much of Crowell catching in the flats or screens, so
I'll tell you what.
I don't know what he's capable of, or what he did at Alabama State last year.
You mentioned that while we're talking about last night's game, and it pains me to give credit to guys wearing those Steelers uniforms. Can't stand Roethlisberger, but man, the one play was beautiful. I'd love to see the Browns mix more stuff like the fake bubble screen, and then Roethlisberger teased the draw, and as he got to the line, he hit the shovel pass over there, the underhand to to Le'Veon Bell, who trucked ahead for an extra, 10, 12, 15 yards there. But it was just a well-designed play. It was a quick fake to Brown. They bought that. Then it was the fake draw. You got the linebacker to pull out just a little bit. Boom, you hit Bell in stride with the little flip shovel, and he picks up a big chunk. And I'm like, those are, it was just well executed all the way around. And I said, those are the kind of things I'd love to see mixed into the base principles of the Browns offense,